So do you guys remember that ban list from the local game store where they banned all the commander cards and they created all these like rules like, you know, no land or no non-land tutors that cost less than 4 mana, or like no non-conditional tutors, no fast mana, no intentional 2-card combos. We all remember that place? So turns out there's a bit of a sequel to this story. Someone by the name of Cody says, "Hi, this ban list is at my local game store. This ban list was sitting under the front deck of the local game store since before the pandemic, and was taken a photo of when the original poster went in, just when some of the players wanted to build around it. This ban list hasn't been enforced ever." So a lot of people actually were giving crap to this local game store, saying like, I would never play there. You're basically making these dumb arbitrary rules that basically cancel out all my commander decks, and also you're banning like an insane number of cards that will make everybody's EDH deck completely invalid. And so we have word on the word on the street is that this actually isn't really enforced and has been completely taken out of context. The store owners made this list to give players both new and consistent. So new and consistent to the shop. Oh, I see. Both new, I guess. Well, I see. But players new and consistently going to the shop a sense of what they can build around in order for the entire table of strangers to be roughly on the same page. It worked decently, but not enough players were actually building around it. Before you jump to conclusions about something posted online and say, this local game store sucks, and I would never go to this local game store to play, ever, learn the full story. Well, we don't have the full story until now. This local game store is easily the best place I've ever gone to play a game of Magic, and more local game stores need to be like this one. What other comments there were here? The only problem I really have with this is the top and bottom restrictions. Like Soul Ring is included in every Commander pre-con made, and cards like Trophy Mage and such are also quite common in Commander pre-cons. I like most of the other most of the other stuff though. So like there was a problem with the no fast mana and no non-land tutors that cost less than 4 mana. So with the pre-con thing, yes, a pre-con has Soul Ring, but if you bring a pre-con to a table for a game of Magic, then you can say you're playing a pre-con and the other players know what to expect. So it's all about expectations, 100% expectations. GB said the local game store still sucks. Some people have made up their minds. I'd rather have a local game store follow the ban list from the Commander something, I forget what the CAG stands for, to prevent confusion, and instead create budget leagues where your deck can only be X amount of bucks. This promotes a more equal playing field. I would even suggest trying out Pauper Commander. It's super fun. The local Commander scene is not consistent enough to do a Commander league, so it isn't worth the hassle for the local game store. I know because I've asked about it. Did you see any cool decks with Planeswalkers as a Commander? That rule sounds dope. Yeah, that was one of the special rules that they had over there, that you could play any Commander as your Planeswalker. Cody says, no, like I mentioned in the second tweet of the thread, this wasn't really a list that gained traction in the usual Commander group since they were already all comfortable with their decks. Definitely would have been cool to see like War of the Spark quality Booty Tribal. Booty Tribal. Anything else from Cody? That's about it. The Commander Advisory Group, advising our bannings. You know me. I am a fan of banning the crap out of stuff. Like that's how you curb the community. You ban it, and it works. They banned, what's it called? What do they do? They banned what's it called? Coalition Victory. And then that was it for Coalition Victory. Oh my god, it's actually going up. People are specking on, whoops, you guys can't see, sorry. They're specking on Coalition Victory at $1. Hold on, what's a card that probably died? Iona. Iona Shield of Emeria. That has got to have gone down. It had to. There we go. That's, I predict, I'm going to take a good guess that Iona got banned on May 4th, 2015. That is my good guess. Kyle Driver, thanks so much for the super chat. I appreciate you every morning. I'm doing very well. I got a new haircut, so I'm doing great. Unless you literally are winning turn 2 in Commander with competitive EDH, pretty much anything goes at our table. Hey there, Gray. So you know how I like to curb the power level of formats. Not everyone likes the idea of banning everything, but I'm all fans for banning. It's the only real way you change the community and change the environment. It's the only way. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and MTG. As usual, with Coffee and MTG, we're going to thank our sponsors, FusionGamingOnline.com, your #1 stop for all your Commander cards, Modern cards, Pioneer cards. Their huge inventory has basically every Magic card you could possibly want. In Canadian dollars. It's in Canadian dollars, but don't forget, it's okay it's in Canadian dollars because they ship worldwide. They'll send to Australia. I'm pretty sure they send to Australia. They definitely send to Europe, to the United States. Deal of the week this week, save 15% off Pokemon sealed product. This will not be shipped outside of Canada. Sealed product only can be shipped within, so if you're a Pokemon fan, you want to get some deals on some sealed product, Fusion Gaming Online's got you covered. Don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu for all your purchases. You'll get 5% off, and you'll support the channel. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier... Whoa, what am I doing? The premier place to rent Magic cards online. Whether you're playing Pioneer, Legacy, Modern, Vintage, all the formats are at your fingertips. Support the channel renting with my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 15% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu _K3W. K3W. Okay, good morning, everyone. I am in a good mood because I got a very long overdue haircut. I'm supposed to get a haircut every single month. I felt like my last haircut wasn't super short, or wasn't short enough for me. But it compensated, definitely compensated. Shrinator, will you make a stream about dead modern staples another time? We're gonna do it today! We're gonna do it today, and we are gonna start with... If you thought you were late, you're not. You're just in time. And let's start this party off with Search for Azcanta. So we're gonna talk dead modern staples. There's so many cards. Thinking into the past, that they were feared. I was so scared of Search for Azcanta when it came out. Like, when my opponent played that and I had nothing on the board, I could feel like the game slipping away immediately. Because I know my opponent is... Let's read this. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. So you're basically scrying every turn. That's not good for me. The control deck's going to find their land drops. They're going to find their removal, their sweepers, their planeswalkers. And they'll sculpt and they'll fill their graveyard for Snapcaster Mage. That's not good. That sounds terrible, but here's the deal. Then if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform Search for Azcanta, and it turns into Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin, which adds blue, so it's almost like a ramp card, but for blue and 2 generic and tapping it, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-land, non-creature card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. It's like Castle Vantress, but it puts the card in your hand. And it's cheaper. It's cheaper to activate. It's insane. So, and D-Tie Gaming says, I miss playing with Search for Azcanta. So this is a card, used to be a hardcore staple in the control decks back in the day. Hard to justify it today because of, like, what's it called? Like, basically early aggro. Like, by turn 2, you probably are still killing creatures on the battlefield. You're playing Prismatic Ending, you're playing March of Otherworldly Light, you might be sniping the creatures off with Wrenn and 6. You gotta be interactive. You gotta be playing your fatal pushes and stuff like that. So you don't have, like, control decks don't have time for this anymore. And this is not playing like even the Grixis control decks, like, and you use to fill the graveyard up to help play your Tassigars or Gurmag Anglers if you wanted to go that route, that angle. So that would be one of the first cards I would say is a card that used to be an absolute staple. What happened to search for Azcanta? Where are we here? Boom. Wow. Once a $20 giant, now a piddly $5 commander card is a completely... Oh, actually, maybe it's he's playing Pioneer. I don't know. I've never looked at the lists closely. Maybe this is still Pioneer staple. But dead in Modern. Completely dead. Okay, I got another one, though, for you. Wild Nacatl. And that's funny, because this one used to be on the ban list. I mean, not that there was ever an argument to keep it there. I mean, at the time, when Wild Nacatl was on the ban list, everyone's like, this doesn't deserve to be on the ban list. What is it doing there? No point. Like, no purpose. Like, get it off. And after enough time, Wizards of the Coast was like, okay, we're taking it off the ban list. That's totally fine. Is Azcanta also dead in Pioneer too? What happened to search for Azcanta? Let's keep searching. It's just gone. So anyway, Wild Nacatl here. When it got unbanned, it saw a ton of play. It actually warped the format temporarily because of the hype. There was a lot of hype around Wild Nacatl. Just like how, like, Stoneforge Mystic got unbanned and everyone played it everywhere as much as they can as well. And ended up... So there was, like, you know, there was, like, Zoo aggro, Zoo mid-range, and then the control decks couldn't beat Zoo aggro, but they could beat Zoo mid-range. So there was, like, a bit of a three-way, you know, love triangle there. In the end, though, Wild Nacatl did see good play in the earlier iterations of Death Shadow aggro, and it also saw really good play in Burn. You could play the red-white Burn, or you could play Naya Burn, so if you needed that extra one drop. And it was good at a time before Fatal Push. You know, it's hard to think about it this way, but there was a time in Modern where the only two good removal spells was Path to Exile and Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt wasn't great, because you can't kill big stuff. Can't kill, like, Death Shadows, can't kill Tarmogoyf, generally speaking. And then Path to Exile sucks, because you just ramp your opponent. But that was, like, those were your staple foods, and now you've got, like, Fatal Push. Fatal Push, we got Prismatic Ending. You people these days are spoiled. Completely spoiled. Wild Nacatl would go good with those new Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Warrior effects. Well, it's probably still not enough. Jam Day says, Nacatl was strong in Modern. The format is extremely fair, not necessarily healthy, but very fair Magic. It's just that there's too much one mana removal now that this just doesn't mean much. It just doesn't mean you play this on turn 1, big deal. You're probably taking too much damage from your deck anyway. If you're going to take the damage to put a Sacred Foundry in play to get this thing online, you might as well be playing Death Shadow. That's basically it. Why shoot yourself in the foot for a 3/3 creature when you can have potentially like a 12/12 creature? What killed more cards, Fatal Push or Fire Design? Fire Design, probably. Fire Design includes, you know, Fury, Solitude. So we got Fury, Solitude, Prismatic Ending. All those cards. Unholy Heat, that's a good... Yeah, that's another one. All that one mana stuff. Seems kind of weak to me. Well, that's why we don't see it anymore. And as of today, Wild Nacatl is definitely a dead staple. If the staples of yesterday are dead, are they good now for people getting into the format as budget options? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I would say Wild Nacatl is still dead, but I could totally see Search of Azcanta being a good budget card in a commander, sorry, not commander deck, a control deck, a blue, like maybe you can't afford, I'm trying to think of a comparable Planeswalker. Maybe you cannot afford like Wrenn and 6, but so you can play Search for Azcanta, and it gives you some means of digging through your deck. So I would say this could be a good budget, really good budget card, really good budget card. I don't know how budget you could call this. It's still $5, but it's not bad. Hogak. Well, the Hogak is gone because it's banned, not because it's been. You know, when we talk about you know, modern staples that are no longer exists, we're just talking about how they've been pushed out of the format for power level reasons or evolution. this one has definitely been just banned for being banned. It's just banned. GP. Dead Modern Staples card. Cryptic Command. Still sees some play. Jason Mind Sculptor. Still a one of in most control lists. Dark Confidant. That's dead. It's hanging on strings. Oh, let's get the real Dark Confidant. I never liked this guy. Never was a fan of this. That's not Bobby. I could never see Bobby having that haircut. Okay, so that's the real Bob. So Dark Confidant, yes, that is a dead card. Used to see a ton of play in Jund. Now it sees some play, but it's like really fringe. Really some fringe play in Hammer Time decks. Is it Hammer Time? Maybe I don't want to say it's Hammer Time. I want to say I've seen it in Hammer Time, but it doesn't make any sense to me because that's a deck that has a lot of creatures that need removal, and that's just another creature that gets hit by removal. So anyway, but used to see it was a staple of the format. Like, what's the price on this thing now? I mean, it's collapsed for sure. Dark Confidant. Wow, is this good in Commander or something? I mean, maybe. Maybe this has the same price memory Liliana the Veil has. Because this definitely doesn't deserve the high price tag that it has. This is ridiculous. Or maybe this is because this is the original. This is the OG. Well, let's look at a crappier, uglier one. Okay, a little cheaper. Still not as cheap as I think it should be. So, Dark Confidant used to be a super staple of the Jund deck. They get it out on... And again, not so much one mana removal back in the day. Not so much. It was Path Exile Lightning Bolt. So if they pathed this, alright, you still got some cards. If they bolted this, that wasn't not every deck played Bolt. Although a lot of decks played red because of Bolt. Bolt is still tier 1 in Modern. Still good. Goes to the face, goes to the creatures. But now we've got Fatal Push, we got Prismatic Ending, we have Unholy Heat. Dark Confidant can't survive in that environment. In that environment. Bob's been hit by price memory. Hopefully it gets reprinted to death in Double Masters 2. Oh, it's been already printed a lot. And still hangs on to its $30 price tag. Which is insane. Just insane. What makes it dead? Just no one plays it? Yeah, so we're gonna say it saw a lot of play. It was a staple. Like a staple to play Modern at the time. And now it's gone. Assassin's Trophy still sees some play in the Golgari deck. You might as well say like Jund and Golgari are dead. Spellskite. That was more of a sideboard card for the time, I want to say. Like, this card saw the most prevalence when Splinter Twin was the most popular. And it wasn't even that good of a card against Splinter Twin, honestly. It was a pretty crappy way of playing around the Splinter Twin combo. But that's when it saw its most prevalence. And then when Splinter Twin got banned, this thing just slowly... I mean, Infect was also pretty popular at the time, and it was okay versus Infect, but again, not perfect. Infect had a lot of ways of dealing with artifacts. They played things like Twisted Image to kill it. That was some pretty cool tech at the time. But this is definitely a sideboard card that is not... Like, I don't know, is anything playing this? Is anything playing this? I don't think anything's playing this. Chris Ross with the super chat. Thanks so much for the €5. Top 10 Modern decks to look out for in June 2022 format. And go. I'm not prepared. Sorry, Chris. I'm not prepared. Murderous Cut is gone now, too. Well, yeah, that one. Now, that one has definitely been pushed out just by the better cards. Murderous Cut. That one's been pushed out by all our better cards. The Fatal Pushes, the Prismatic Endings, the Drown in the Locks. There's just so much, a lot better cards. It's just not worth even trying to go for this. Bitterblossom, sadly, check its price as well. Well, the thing with Bitterblossom, see, some of you would say, well, I would say it was never even a card. That's where I'm at. Whoops. Whoa! It still has a very high price. Very, very high price. Okay, so this is when it got unbanned. And then for this entire period, it really didn't see any play. Still sees no play. Still sees no play. Going up, but still sees no play. Nope. Nope. Still no. And still no. But people like this card a lot. This is like a super, super popular card. Bitterblossom almost has its own culture, its own community, single-handedly. Like Liliana the Veil. Someone should make a deck just filled with all the dead modern cards. We got Bitterblossom, Dark Confidant. We got, I would say Liliana the Veil should be dead. It's not actually dead. Bitterblossom is great in Commander. Oh yeah, you have a lot of life to work with there, so why not? Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Well, Bitterblossom was. I'm not putting this on my dead modern card list. It was never a staple. It was like a one of two of in a fairies deck piloted by can't remember his full name, but Takahashi. He played a blue-black control deck with Bitterblossom, but that's very, very, very far from calling it a staple. Okay, what do we got? Elspeth Sun's Champion. It's hard to believe that this actually was a staple to... let's get the original. I want the original. Way better art. Infinitely better. It's hard to believe a 6-mana Planeswalker was like a staple win condition in Modern Blue-Eye Control. But this is all we had to work with. So this was like a very big bomb in Standard, and eventually people found out, hey, this is actually pretty good in Modern. So until Bitter Planeswalkers got printed, this was a pretty decent win condition in Modern. And there are a lot of win conditions, like a lot of Bitter Planeswalkers did get printed, like even as early as Nahiri the Harbinger. All of a sudden, it was just way more practical to get this. Like the moment Nahiri the Harbinger got printed, people started going Jeskai and didn't go blue-white anymore. But this was a very good card. It could wipe the board. It put a win condition on the battlefield really, really quickly, and it could kill your opponent like in good time. That's a good one. Gavony, even in the burn decks. This was either like a really good sideboard card, or like it was pretty typically a sideboard card, but it also saw main deck play in burn. This is pretty dead. Wow, look at the price. Pennies. Hold on, you guys gotta see this. You guys gotta see this. It's pennies. It's literally pennies. You can tell how good a card is, how playable a card is in Modern based on its price. Wow. We went from 13 bucks to nothing. What a fall for Grim Lavamancer. And I understand it's seen some reprints, but still, it's seen some double masters. No, it just has seen like one reprint. But that used to be a staple. Jace is... No, it's not that. What, Jace the Mind Sculptor? I mean, if you want to talk about Jace the Mind Sculptor is seeing a lot of play. What is wrong with you people? Let's look at a random blink deck. You like as a one of, it's not a big. Let me see. Find me a control deck. I'm not doing good. Is it dead now because of the Wandering Emperor? Did the Wandering Emperor push it out? I am certain that if I look hard enough, I will find at least... I could be wrong. Did Jace just recently die? Did Jace just recently die? There he is! By Benny Hills, super active, hardcore grinder online. There's Jace the Mind Sculptor. Jace is not dead. Jace is still around. Jace is in main decks. I don't know what people are so excited about saying Jace is a dead card. Jace is very, very active. Very active. It's like, and it's a very good card. Like Brainstorm is still good in Modern. That hasn't changed. It's basically 4-mana Brainstorm generator. Every turn you can Brainstorm and then fetch all the bad cards away. Are we talking about every Titan from the cycle except Primeval Titan? Inferno Titan used to see a lot of play in Ponza. I don't remember. I mean, I remember it seeing play in Ponza, but when they refined the list, that Inferno Titan disappeared immediately. I wouldn't say it was a staple. Oh yeah, and then some Murktides. The mid-range Murktide decks play Jace the Mind Sculptor. What's with all you people saying? Jace is not dead. Jace is not dead. Now, I also don't think Cryptic Command is dead, but it's on the way. That one is like, it's close. Maybe it is dead, but I would like to give it another year before it's actually dead. Tireless Tracker, that's a dead card. Or is it? We'll say it's dead. That did see a lot of play in the Amulet decks. It saw play in the Golgari decks, some, like, basically Black-Green X decks. Really good value. Enters the battlefield, play a fetch land, crack it twice, get 2 clues. Long run, that was some good value. Nick says, can you talk about Scarab God? Nope, because it was never a staple. It was dead on arrival. What about some utility lands? Which ones? Gotta name something. Metamorpho still sees play. Come on, there's a lot. Okay, there we go. Logic Knot. That's a dead card. But that's because that was the pre-counterspell era, right? Here, let's see this Future Sight one, because this is the one I see all the time in paper. If anyone plays anything, it's going to be this one. So Logic Knot was, I mean, back before Counterspell was printed in Modern Horizons 2, you had to play stuff like this if you wanted a good number of counterspells, and you had to play a variety of counterspells. It wasn't even just Logic Knot, right? Like, what else was it? Cryptic Command is being played in Jeskai Lotusfield. Do you people not even know what's dead? Okay, Vendilion Clique is a good example. I think that's a dead card. People are all mentioning cards that still exist right now. Clique, I mean, Clique was, oh man, it used to have a high price tag. Oh, this is gonna hurt looking at this one. Looking at the graph for Clique. Oof! See, that's what happens when a modern staple becomes dead. It goes from the super high price tag. It got reprinted here. It did. There was a bit of a drop, but then people just didn't want to play with it anymore. And it's gone now. Kitchen. Do some Yawgmoth decks play Kitchen Finks? I can't tell. Manly. Yeah, I mean, you might as well just throw all the counter spells in here. So like Mana Leak is actually I think Mana Leak sees some play. I can't remember where. Maybe I'm wrong. But like I could say this is basically a dead card. I think there's some deck out there that doesn't have enough blue sources, so they need to play with like a counter spell that has some colorless in its mana cost. I've learned, Terminate, these cards both see play. I'm learning that you guys don't know what a dead card is. Maybe some of you have not been around long enough. Remand is dead. Oh man. I think Remand could actually come back if it has the right deck. Because it's still, like, it was never meant to counter any spells in the first place. It never did that. But it was a very good combo card. But I guess maybe it's just not worth it. You might as well just play Counterspell instead. Voice of Resurgence. Is there not a deck that plays Voice? Maybe not. Voice of Resurgence. Not resurging anymore. Voice of Resurgence saw play in everything. It was a Birthing Pod staple. It was being played in some Abzan decks. It was being played, what else was it being played in? I think even some Elemental decks tried to play this thing as well. This was a staple. This was a heavy staple. Saw played a lot. Now let's look at the graphs. Let's look at the money. Voice of Resurgence. And honestly, I don't even think there's any good reason that Voice of Resurgence should be dead. I think by all means, it is still a good card in today's metagame. It's still a 2-for-1. And it still inhibits anyone trying to play on the opponent's turn. It looks like it's making a bit of a comeback here. Or is it seeing play in some deck that we don't know? Or maybe, well, maybe that's Pioneer Interest. Look at that. Look, it used to be $52. Bounced back to 43. This was a very, very played card. Who Electrolyze is a dead card. Yeah. The class, and that was good value at the time. It's hard to believe that that was good value. Really good value. It was sometimes a 3. How do we? Okay, if we use Electrolyze to kill 2 things and we draw a card, what is that? It's a 2 for 0, or it's a -1 for 0 because we replaced the card. So we exchanged. No, but we're up a card. It's a 2 for 0 is what it is. Yeah, it's because we lose nothing. It's a 2 for 1 if we lose our card, but if we don't lose a card, then it's a 2 for 0. It was a 2 for 0. So that was a really strong, this was a super playable staple. Saw play in the Scapeshift decks, the Splinter Twin decks. I think it was also a card in Delver. I don't think Gideon Juro was ever really a what's it called, a staple in Modern. Threads of Disloyalty. I think Threads was just temporarily hyped by Sean McLaren. And Tarmogoyf is still... Why is everyone acting like Tarmogoyf is dead? Tarmogoyf is still around. It's not gone. Electrolyze is a way worse Fire and Ice. That's true. I mean, Electrolyze was already, like, in a lot of trouble. I would say it was dead for even before Fire and Ice got printed. But now it's most certainly dead. Cruel Ultimatum was never a staple. Threads of Disloyalty. This saw some play in Modern. It was a good chunk of play when Sean McLaren popularized it at a time where, you know, people were playing a lot of Zoo decks, Death Shadow, and stuff like that. So it was still good. But now, ultimately, it probably could come back. It could come back. Doesn't seem that bad. Steal the creature with your opponent's hammer on it. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, Tarmogoyf's not dead. Siege Rhino is dead. So Siege Rhino actually is a staple that died. This saw play in the Birthing Pod decks and the Abzan decks. Not a ton of decks, but, like, you know, it was there. It was a staple for enough of the time. Pyromancer Ascension. Basically, basically now we're talking, in this case, we're talking like the old Storm deck died. So until, this was a staple when Gitaxian Probe was around, and when Gitaxian Probe got banned, Gitaxian Probe. So when Gitaxian Probe was around, it was easier to activate this. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that has the same name as a card in your graveyard, you can put a quest counter on Pyromancer Ascension. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell while Pyromancer Ascension has 2 or more... Basically, if it has 2 or more counters on it, you get to copy the spell for everything you play. So you play a ritual, you get 2 rituals. You play Manamorphose, you get a bunch of mana, but you also get 2 cards. You play Serum Visions, you get 2 cards. So you can get through your deck pretty quickly. But when Gitaxian Probe got banned, all the hope for... Well, anyway, it forced the Storm players to evolve their deck, and then they discovered the Gifts package. Gifts Ungiven. So they found the Gifts Ungiven Past in Flames. Past in Flames combo. And it was just a better version of Storm. But anyway, so that's the story with Pyromancer Ascension. But still, that used to be a staple of Modern for many years and is just gone. Terminus. I would say that's a dead card now. Terminus. Staple of the Blue-Eye Control decks. Even as recently as a few years ago. Especially when Jace got unbanned. When Jace got unbanned, like, Terminus was everywhere. It's a miracle! What do you know? This card could come back. It's a dead card now. No one needs it. But it could definitely come back. Hell, maybe it should come back even now. Imagine just using instant speed. Like, draw a card on your opponent's turn. Terminus and wipe out all your Hammer Time creatures. Seems fun to me. Cranial Plating is not dead. It's still around. Come on, there's... I'm learning chat doesn't know what's a dead Modern card. We go to Affinity. There's definitely going to be at least one of these with Cranial Plating. I don't know which ones. It's good. There we go. Here's Cranial Plating. Still sees play in the Affinity decks. Lingering Souls is dead. Yeah. And every single time people suggest this on Decklist Review, you're just showing how boomer you are. You give away how much of a boomer you are on decklist review whenever you suggest Lingering Souls, because this is a pretty bad card in Modern now. It's just too clunky. For 3 mana, 2 flying, 1/1 spirits, it's not going to cut it. Huntmaster of the Fells. That's a dead card. It's probably not coming back. Saw play in the, obviously Jund. Saw play in Jund, but also saw play in the Eternal Command control decks, the Rug control deck made by Tomohiro Saito. There was some other niche I also saw some sideboard play, I think, in the Tarmo Twin deck, because they were playing Teamer anyway. M. Petri is super boomer. They admit they're boomers. Stony, that's an interesting one. I don't know if this is actually technically dead or if it's just not well positioned to be in the sideboard, but it is true. I don't think Stony Silence sees any play right now. I don't think it sees any play, but I wouldn't call this a dead card, because this definitely, given meta conditions, it can come back. It can definitely come back. I wouldn't count Vengevine as a dead card at all, actually. I will admit it barely sees play right now, but it's this type of card. You see these bumps? Vengevine deck. They banned the Vengevine deck. Vengevine deck. They banned the Vengevine deck. Vengevine deck. Oh no, they banned the Vengevine deck. We got another Vengevine deck. They printed answers to the Vengevine deck. Another Vengevine deck. They banned the key cards. So it even came back even. Actually, I don't know if it came back. Can't remember what was happening in Modern Rises 2 that Vengevine became a big deal again. But Vengevine is just it's a cyclical card. If you want like an easy, not financial advice, but if you want some easy money, you buy Vengevine on its dip, and then you sell it on the hype every single time. You can make some good money off of Vengevine in perpetuity. But it's that type of card. Kitchen Finks might be dead. I can't tell if they have them any in the Yawgmoth deck. They might have a few, but essentially this was a huge staple. Not only to the Birthing Pod decks, just random creature value decks. What else? There was the Counters Company deck. Not Counters Company, but there was the... Could I call it the Counters Company deck? I think at the point that it became Counters Company... I know it became Abzan Company and then Counters Company, but I think by Counters Company, it already removed the Kitchen Finks. Snapcaster Mage still sees play. Come on. Still sees play. That's a dead card. Oh, that's a good one. That is dead. That saw so much play in the Mardu Pyromancer decks, in the Delver decks, basically any blue-red deck. Even some Jeskai control decks would sideboard this in because they knew you sided out your removal. So like, and then you play this young Pyromancer, they can't do anything about it. That was a hot staple for a very long time. It's so hard to believe that this card doesn't exist. Anyways, like, it's something you used to have to like kill on the spot, because if you let it just lie around for too long, then it'll just completely take over the game. Completely take over the game. But this definitely doesn't see any play anymore. Are you trolling me? Feloon, Sea of Sky. It's still around. Yeah, Condemn is gone. But mostly because of Prismatic End. Like, these are all, like, fine removal spells, but they're played out of necessity, right? And now because of things like Prismatic Ending, like, there's no point to playing these cards anymore. Gurmag Angler is dead. Yeah, Gurmag Angler is gone. We just have better cards now. If you're going to play Gurmag... Basically, Murktide killed this card. This card used to be the big beefy thing you could play off of your graveyard, but now Murktide is just above and beyond better. Path to Exile still sees play. It's not there yet. We're not there yet. Thalia, I think, still sees some play. Not completely dead. Tribal Flames. That is technically a dead card. But it mostly died with the archetype. So the, what's it called? What was the deck called? Tribal Zoo? Yeah, I think it was called Tribal Zoo. Even though there's no tribal creatures in it. It was named after this card, Tribal Flames. Surgical Extraction still sees play. Come on. In the mill decks. Every mill deck plays Surgical Extraction because they have to. Jace, Architect of Thought is dead. Yep. That was a staple of the control decks. 100%. That also around the Elspeth Sons Champion era. Basically, before they unbanned Jace the Mind Sculptor and printed a bunch of really good modern planeswalkers, I mean, this is what we had to play with. And you had this like you played this, you got that mini Factor Fiction, -2, reveal 3 cards off the top of your library. Opponent separates them into 2 piles, you get to choose one. That was how it was. We talked about that. Mana Leak, yeah, is basically dead. Urza's not dead. I wouldn't say Urza's dead. The thing is, Urza doesn't have a home. That's the deal. Geist of Saint Traft is dead. It's had some resurgence. Like occasionally a Spirits deck will play it, but basically this card is dead. And maybe there's no justification for this. Maybe this should actually be more playable. It's not that bad. It's 2/2 creature that puts a good clock on the opponent. It's really not that bad, but maybe there's just too many creatures on the battlefield to block. Restoration Angel feels dead. Yeah, Restoration. I don't know any competitive deck playing Restoration Angel. There it is. I don't know any competitive deck playing Restoration Angel. You know what? I'm not gonna say Curd Ape was a staple. Like it came on the scene immediately with Zoo, but it didn't have any long-lasting history in the format. Whereas Restoration Angel was a core staple in Jeskai Tempo decks. Jeskai Tempo, some Jeskai Control, like Jeskai Control. Then it was also a part of like Sean McLaren's Kiki Resto Jeskai Control combo deck. You know. So that was very, very common. Giver of Ruin still sees play. Tectonic Edge, that is a card that used to see a ton of play, even in the control decks. Control decks wanted to play this card to deal with Tron, to put your control opponent on fewer mana, eat up their mana sources. Saw a lot of play in Merfolk. Oh, I love this card. It was so nice. It's nice to strategically. Because if you ate up a Tron land with it, you know, that was skill. That was skill. Because you know they had to get to 4 mana, which means they had Tron mana for like 2 turns. Gavony Township. That is actually a good one. It's a lot of play in the pod-ish decks and some token decks. It sort of died with those pod-like decks, so that when pod got banned, it did turn into Abs and Company. They still played this card, but then when they turned it into Counters Company, they didn't feel like they wanted to use it anymore. Me too. Me too, Spencer. Me too. Tech Edge definitely got bumped. You know what? That's a good point. It got bumped by Field of Ruin. Ghost Quarter was always in the format, but Field of Ruin was just a much better card because you could interact with Tron before they got Tron online. So when you're on the play with control, you could eat up a Tron land before they even get to the Tron mana. Good morning, Thomas. Thank you for spreading the love with the $5. I really appreciate it. It's a Pioneer staple now. What, Tectonic Edge? Or Gavony Township. Maybe we're talking about Gavony Township. Detention Sphere. I wouldn't say this is a big staple, but it's a little bit. Detention Sphere. This saw some play. It was around. It was around. Here the Harbinger is dead. Yeah. We actually brought this card up a little bit earlier. So this was a staple in the control decks, Jeskai Control. You know, you still sort of see this card maybe in some random fringe Ponza decks, but for the most part, this really is gone. Desiree Shaman's banned. Like, banned cards don't really count. I wouldn't count Olivia Valderin, but I would count Kalidas. Olivia Valderin was never a staple of Modern. was a staple of Standard. But Kalitas was a staple of Modern. This was a very common sideboard card, or like the top end of a black, some sort of black-based deck. So, and Jund, black-green. So Kalitas was definitely a staple. I had to play around this card so many times. So annoying. Very, 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 very annoying. Knight of Autumn. You know what? I guess we could count Knight of Autumn. No, Knight of Autumn and Knight of the Reliquary. I think Knight of Autumn, it could come back. But I don't actually think this card sees like almost any play at all. But we, on the topic, Knight of Reliquary, this card saw a lot of play. Was in the like green, white, good stuff deck. I can't remember what the deck was called, but also was part of a lot of niche combos as well. Leyline of Sanctity still sees play. Those are meta cards. So like Leyline of Sanctity, like they come back. It's just not well. If it's not well positioned, then no one will play it. That's the deal. Yeah, the green-white value 10 deck saw. Traverse the Ulvenwald. I think. Yeah, I guess we could call this a dead card. This saw a lot of play, and it was good. It probably still is good. Was a staple of the Death Shadow decks at the time. Is Anger the Gods dead? Or is it there's just no deck to play Anger the Gods? I don't think... Staples versus staple sideboard cards? If it's a staple, I'm fine with it. If it's a staple, I'm fine with it. Sphinx's Revelation? Yeah, we could count this. This is like all... This might as also well be like called every dead control card that got replaced by the new good stuff. So here's Sphinx's Revelation. It was a staple to very specifically those decks. I don't even know. I don't know if I want to count Grim Flare. Like I guess it was not. It was like more of like a. I wouldn't say there was any deck that needed Grim Flare, that it was a staple. It was more of a... It was a card people were trying, but I under no circumstances think that this was the most optimal card. Or this is the most optimal card in any deck it was played in. Creature Land still see play. I think almost all of them. Spell Snare's dead. That's an interesting one. That just goes to show, you know, the lack of 2-drops in the format compared to the 1-drops. There's more 1-drops, 0-drops, or 3-drops or more, or higher, or you have Murktide or something. Spell Snare was an absolute staple to every blue deck. Every blue deck! Except for maybe Storm. Probably Storm was the only deck that didn't play Spell Snare. Every single deck. Is Fulminator Mage really dead? I think Living End still plays some Fulminator Mages. I don't know what deck is playing Raging Ravine, but something is playing Raging Ravine. But I know, I get what you were saying. Raging Ravine is a card that did used to see like a ton of play, and now is seeing almost none. I don't know what is seeing. I could have swore I saw some list playing Raging Ravine. But it's like, you know, obviously it was a hardcore staple, and it's on a lifeline right now. Or it's dead. Maybe I just didn't pay attention. Yeah, we could count Ancestral Vision. It actually probably would still be a staple today. I can't remember what pushed Ancestral Vision out of the format. Oh, what pushed... Oh, Teferi Time Raveler screwed it over. So, if it wasn't for Teferi Time Raveler, Ancestral Vision probably would still see a lot of play today. A lot of play. But because of Teferi, it killed these suspend cards. Like a slow suspend card like this. So one control player plays this on turn 1. Eventually the other control player gets Teferi in play and it's over. You know, we should actually give a shout out to Tassiger. Basically the big daddy before... The Banana Man. I mean, he had a nickname. He was so popular. He was called the Banana Man. Because he got his bananas over here. Not that I think he even eats them. I wouldn't say Arcbound Ravager dead. That's more of like... The Arcbound Ravager is still very good. It sees play in Hardened Scales Affinity. It's just that Hardened Scales is like really, really low in play. Through the Breach is a great one for being a dead card. Blue Moon was a deck. And there were variations of those Through the Breach decks. Yeah, we can include Through the Breach. True story. Put an Emrakul in play. Almost always Emrakul. Yeah, RIP bananas. Everyone's jumping into... Oh man, okay, how about... I give you an ultimatum. We either do deck list review or we keep talking about banned cards for the next 20 minutes. I give you guys the choice. Put in your vote in chat. We keep talking about banned cards for the next 20 minutes. I'm not doing both, because this seems to be a pretty hot topic and the viewers have just jumped up out of nowhere. Basic Island. So you get the choice. We do go into deck list review or we keep talking banned cards for today. And while you guys do that, I'll keep looking up banned cards. So some people mentioned Delver. I think yeah, we could say Delver is dead. Delver wasn't, although Delver was like barely hanging on in the first place. Like, it was very, very good during the Treasure Cruise era. And it was playable even before that, to be honest. There was, you know what, I will give it that. Delver was a fringe deck in the past. And then it got a huge boost with Treasure Cruise being printed. And then it sort of went into obscurity. And then it hasn't been the same since. Okay, everyone wants to talk banned cards. So we're going to skip deck list review today. Only Alexander wants deck list review. But don't worry, there'll be deck list review next week. Sprite Dragon. This feels like this is still too new. Yeah, this was a complete staple of the Prowess decks and other blue-red mid-range decks. And it basically got pushed out by Ragavan, Dragon Rage Chandler, and Murktide. Like, there's basically no reason to play Sprite Dragon. Birds of I play Birds of Paradise Black Monster, so how can we say it's dead? It did see a lot of play though. Paradise. Birds of Paradise saw play in the Kiki Chord decks. Saw a play in what's it called? Birthing Pod, of course. There actually was quite a, then turning into Abs and Company and so on. Actually was a lot of reason to play Birds of Paradise in Modern. And you don't really see many Birds of Paradise decks anymore. Like, why play this card? Why risk it getting eaten up by Ren and 6? I think actually, yeah, so the deal is Utopia Sprawl took over. So right now there's like no point. And this was in the format for forever. This literally was in the format for eternity. And no one played it. This was like some hidden tech for a problem. I have a feeling the Utopia Sprawl Arbor Elf line was available like since the beginning of time. Now, it may not work in all cases because like in pod, you need to pod away like a physical creature. But I'm sure for a lot of ramp decks, they could have used Utopia Sprawl the entire way around. Wall of Omens. Again, on the list of basically control cards that don't see play anymore. So Wall of Omens was a huge staple. I think this still sees some fringe play, but not any real play. Not to the staple that it used to be. Used to be a super staple. Smuggler's Copter and Merfolk. Sadly, Smuggler's Copter really wasn't a really big staple. Actually, we went over Grim Lavamancer. If you guys mention a card that I'm not answering, it's because we went over it. You just got to catch it on the replay. Is Spellqueller dead? I want to say it's not. As long as Spirits is around, Spellqueller is around, so it's definitely there. Nikachu, is Dark Depths too good for Modern? I want to say no, but I also want to say yes. Ice Fang Quaddle still sees play. The Lotus you can suspend? Well, that's because... Okay, so we go to... What's it called? What is that called? Lotus Bloom. Maybe we could call it... Say it's dead, because Ad Nauseum's dead, and there were some Titan decks that played this, and it's gone too. So this was a staple of the format. Let's look at the price. That shows how dead a card is in Modern. Lotus Bloom. Probably we're going to see a huge crash. Yeah. The classic peak and then gone. It's basically gone. Liliana the Veil. I want to say this card is dead. But, like, the people are still trying to keep... People still play this card. Like, this is a card that should be dead. It should be gone, but it's not gone. Swift Spear? You mean Monastery? Swift Spear still sees play and burn. Burn is still around. Ooh, love it. Do you know what? The Prowess decks still exist. Do you know what? Since the Prowess decks still exist, probably Sprite Dragon is still playable. Emrakul still sees play in something, doesn't it? Pyroclasm? You know what? Maybe Pyroclasm's dead. Maybe Pyroclasm's dead. Does anyone play this card anymore? I don't think so. And that might be because things like Delver, Grim Lavamancer, Young Pyromancer, all those small dinky things that we played on turns 1 and 2, they're gone. So maybe that's probably gone. Do people still play Hex Drinker? No, but people... I would never say Hex Drinker was ever a staple of Modern. People tried it, but it was never like a staple. They were just forcing it into decks. Chase Bellerin for the Legend role? Maybe in Standard, but not for Modern. Maybe in Legacy, but I don't know about for Modern. Celestial Purge. Maybe. Because we don't need this anymore, right? With Prismatic Ending, March of Otherworldly Light, cards like this are just not necessary anymore. It's so funny to see how many people think Jace the Mind Sculptor is dead when it still sees a lot of play in Modern. A lot of play. Lightning Helix. Burn plays that. Helix still in Burn. Okay, so let me think. What are some cards that used to see play but don't see play anymore? That seem to be stone cold dead. Thinking back, we went through a lot. Someone's mentioned Necropotence. Oh, Thrun the Last Troll. That's a good one. I'm going through a lot of sideboard cards now. Thrun the Last Troll. That was a card in every deck that could play green. Every single deck. Can't be countered. Pretty good chunky beater. Has hexproof and you can regenerate it. There isn't really a good reason this card doesn't see play anymore. I think Hollow One is still good. I mean, it's technically, you can say it's a dead card, I guess. The thing is, I think whoops. The thing with Hollow One is it doesn't see... I wouldn't say it's a dead card. It just doesn't see any play because we don't know the right shell for this card. It's still a good card. But it just doesn't see... I guess we could say it's dead. Doesn't see play anymore. Metamorphose definitely sees play in something. I just don't know what. Off the top of my head. I guess Stone Rain is dead. But Stone Rain... I don't even want to really say Stone Rain was a staple, though. Don't really want to say Stone Rain was a staple. Hollow One is making a comeback in Asmo decks. So yeah, so that, like, this is a good card. It's still a good card. It needs the home. The problem, it's got no home. The home is gone. Serum... Is Serum Visions dead? Maybe it is. It's getting blown out by, like, thing. I can't tell. Is Serum Visions dead? Opt probably is dead. As dumb as that sounds. I don't know if I can say Serum Visions is dead. It's still, like, one of the better filter cards for combo decks. Serum is in Phoenix? Okay, we're not calling this dead. X-nay the Serum Visions nay. Ragavan has always been dead to me. Yeah, we actually went over Hogak earlier. We went over Hogak. So okay, so Arclight Phoenix is like no, I don't even want to say Arclight Phoenix is dead. It's like that's in the Hollow One category, Arclight Phoenix, where like the card is amazing, it's still very powerful, but it's missing the enabler. So you can call, oh, Thing in the Ice, that's a good one. Really, this is a list of all the control cards that got completely displaced. But this, so this was a huge staple at the time. It was an early play wall. It was a wall. And then over time, it became this gigantic monster. Not only saw play in control decks, also obviously saw play in the Phoenix decks at the time. But now it doesn't see play at all. Doesn't see play at all. Monastery Mentor. Very similar spot. Was a control staple. Noble Hierarch still sees some play. Path to Exile definitely still sees some play. I haven't seen snow cards like Break the Ice or Dead of Winter in a while. Because, well, no one wants to play with those winter cards. Oh, Oko? Is Treetop Village dead? Probably. Yeah, some of those creature lands are dead. Or they're seeing very little play. It's too like putting up land into play tap these days is like it's a beating. It's just a beating. Goblin Rabblemaster, yeah, that's been a while. It definitely saw a lot of play in like the free win red deck. Saw some play in Jund. Some people would splash that card in. Definitely saw a lot of play. Eldrazi Sky Spawner. You could say all those Eldrazi's, like Eldrazi Displacer. Like that saw play in Death and Taxes decks. That's how it's playing Death and Taxes, that like Eldrazi and Taxes. So Death and Taxes, Eldrazi and Taxes, just white Eldrazi decks in general. This might, you know, reminding people about Eldrazi Displacer might jumpstart some memories, because that was also comboed, I think, with Tide Hallow. I saw someone mention Tide Hallow Sculler, which also is a modern staple. Maybe this card can come back, but honestly, yeah, this card is gone. It's completely dead. Ooh, Bedlam Reveler is a good one. Bedlam Reveler! And it's probably not coming back either. Bedlam Reveler. This was like the original. Hold on, does this see play right now? I can't remember. If it does see play, it's not what it used to be. Like, this used to see a lot of play. Like, a ton. Absolute boatload of play. Farseek? What, this Scapeshift X? I guess. Bedlam Reveler shows up in mono red prowess. Okay, it has some play, but it's I'm gonna still call this a pretty dead card because a lot of the decks. Hold on, does it still see playing Dredge? Maybe it still sees playing Dread, and I just haven't seen the Dredge lists in a while because people are preferring to play Living End these days. Goblin Lore was a big card because of Hollow One. I don't think this card actually saw play in any, like, Mardu Pyromancer only played Faithless Looting. But in the same era as Mardu Pyromancer was Hollow One, and Hollow One played Goblin Lore. Oh, there's a dead card. Sakura Tribe Elder. Wow, how much play did this guy see? And we really don't see this card anymore. That card is literally gone. My, how the times have changed. No longer will you block my shit and then sack yourself to go ramp yourself up. The Garden still sees play in Amulet. I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm 99% sure. Goryo's Vengeance is a pretty dead deck. This is more of a deck than the card. Let's get the original. Basically died with Faithless Looting, because after Faithless Looting went away, you could no longer comfortably resurrect an Emrakul at instant speed, or couldn't go for turn 1 looting, put a Grizzlebrand in the graveyard, turn 2 Goryo's Vengeance. We could say Blade Splicer. There's probably a lot of Death and Taxes cards that are just gone. I don't think... Did Loxodon Smiter ever have a, like, real good play in Modern? I don't think so. Maelstrom Pulse. That is a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that saw so much play. And there was a lot more tokens back then, too. There's tokens even today. The Construct tokens from Urza Saga. Probably this could see, like, a bit of a comeback, but it's still clunky at 3 mana. No one wants to play this card. Really it's a huge clunker. And it's just gone. That used to be such a staple of Modern. Let's look at the price graph for this one. It's definitely going to go up and then die. Yeah, whoa. Do I have a falling sound effect? I do have one, but I don't think it's here. Is Abrupt Decay actually dead? I find that hard to believe, but maybe it is. I haven't seen an Abrupt Decay for a very long time, to be honest. I want to say, like, this is like a one-of in a sideboard or something, but, like, obviously not the staple that he used to be. Obviously not the staple that he used to be. We went over Nahiri already. Bumbo. You're mentioning a lot of cards that we went over. Should have been here earlier, you would have loved it. But you can see it on the replay. Abrupt Decay is usually sideboard fodder. Still great against control decks, though. I guess to defeat, what's it called? Teferi Time Raveler. Life from the Loam still gets played in Dredge. Oh, it doesn't run Loam anymore? Really? Okay, then maybe it is dead. Bring to Light actually sees more play today than ever. Believe it or not. It is back. I don't know if we can call this one a dead card, but it disappeared from people's sideboards. Auriok Champion. That is a card that really fell in price too. Pro red, pro black. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. It's still around though, because it's a Heliod Company it's a Heliod Heliod Company staple. Mantis Rider. I mean, this is basically saying humans is dead. But yeah, all the humans cards are dead. Was once super popular, but didn't see any play outside of humans, basically. Can we say Scavenging? I think it still sees play in the Yawgmoth deck. I'm not sure, though. It's definitely not what it used to be, because Black-Green X is not what it used to be. Can we say Mirroring Crusader? I guess. It was, like, sort of a staple fringe sideboard card. Eric Bachman is dead? I have no idea who that is. Oh, Peer Through Depths. That's a go. Now we're going deep here. Peer Through Depths. That was a core card in a lot of combo decks, specifically the Scapeshift deck. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I'm not going to say why play this over, like, Expressive Iteration, but basically, you know, we have a lot better card draw cards now these days. A lot better. No, we are scrapping Decklist Review today to talk about beautiful old cards that are dead in Modern, because people like to... There's nothing like nostalgia, like going back into the past. What do people feel when they see this Peer Through Depths? They're like, oh yeah, but those were the days. Those were the days. Is Fulminator Mage really dead? I think it still sees some play in Living End, but I could be wrong. Thomas needs some advice. Thanks so much for the super chat. What should I play tonight? Tron or Amulet Titan? They're both good, but you know what? I would put my money on Amulet Titan easily. Slaughter Pact. That is a dead card. Saw a lot of play during the Splinter Twin era because, like, if a Jund deck tapped out versus Splinter Twin, they're like, do they have it or not? And it's a beating if they have it. Twin, do you have Slaughter Pact? That was the only. This was the only card for the longest time where if someone was tapped out, you sort of had to ask them, like, does this resolve? Like, do you have any interact? Like, basically, if someone was tapped out in Modern, any deck, they can't do anything. There are no free spells. Maybe Gut Shot in some cases, but Slaughter Pact was definitely the only card. You had to ask a player playing black, like, okay, does my thing resolve? Do you have any responses? And always like, do you have the Slaughter Pact? Do you got it? How about this? Okay, we gotta have a vote. Is Scavenging Ooze dead? I don't know. I want to say this is I want to say this card is still around. I'm gonna leave it a vote to everybody. Let me know in the comments section if you're on Facebook. Anyone, is Scavenging Ooze actually a dead card? I want to say this sees fringe play, and as you guys give me your answers, I'm gonna look. Okay, I'm gonna look in Yawgmoth, which is the one deck that will definitely probably have a Scavenging. If there's Scavenging Ooze anywhere, it has to be in this deck. Oh, so I got excited for a second. I thought I saw Scavenging Ooze, but Strangleroot Geist. There it is. Whoops, you guys can't see what I see. There it is. It's not dead, so stop saying so. Alive and kicking. Very fringe, but it's not gone. It's not gone. It's maybe it's on the bed with the heart monitor attached and things barely beeping, but still a pulse. Still a pulse. All it takes is like one good graveyard creature, like one more like endurance like creature, and it's over. It's over for Scavenging Ooze, and then it's never gonna come back. Yeah, Endurance definitely is just a better card, but it is on the verge. It's in the hospital bed. Yeah, we went over Voice of Resurgence. Okay, what else do we have? Eternal Witness actually still sees some play, especially thanks to Aspiring Spike, but it's very fringe. Very, 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 very fringe. I don't want to say Baneslayer Angel was ever a staple. It was like the flavor of a few months for like it was the flavor for a control victory for a few months. Baneslayer Angel. So it did see play. It's gone, but it was never a big staple for control because they didn't have a whole lot of options in the first. They had a lot of options to change in the first place. Do I mention I just played against Jeskai control like a few days ago. I would say it's basically dead, but some people try to bring it back. Shadow of Doubt was never a staple. I want Tarfire to be viable with Darcy. Anything from Modern anything from Modern Elves. Anything? Not sure what that anything is. People keep saying Path to Exile, but it still sees playing Hammer Time. Because they're gonna kill people anyway. So let's look at the sideboard. See, 2 Path to Exile. It's not what it used to be. It's like it's a sideboard card now. Because you don't want to ramp your opponent, but in the matchups where you don't care to ramp your opponent, it still sees play. So Path to Exile is definitely not. Shriekma's back, by the way. It just died because of Lurrus temporarily. There was no point. Oh no, sorry. Maybe I'm thinking. Sorry, I was thinking of Street Wraith. Shriekmaw, is it dead? Maybe it's dead. Maybe it's gone. Thing the Ice is dead, but we went over that already. Looks like you guys are just regurgitating the same stuff over and over. Okay, is Fulminator Mage dead? I'm gonna look. So, this is another one I'll ask everyone. Is Fulminator Mage actually dead? Or is it like a niche sideboard card now? Give me your answers. What do you think? Is Fulminator actually dead? Because I'm gonna go hunt for some Fulminator Mages. It's Fulminator. It's like an Easter egg hunt. Blue Living End. I find it hard to believe that there are no Fulminator Mages in any Living End decks at all. But could be true. Well, I don't want to look in like losing Living End decks. Let's look at some winning Living End decks. Modern Challenge. I'm not seeing it, to be honest. And maybe there's just no reason to play it right now. Maybe Fulminator Mage is gone. Maybe it's dead. Maybe I can say this card is dead. Collected Company sees a lot of play. Tons of play. I think Anger the Gods also still sees play. I mean, you need the right red base deck for it. Yeah, maybe this is dead. Maybe this is dead. Definitely not well positioned right now. Laboratory Maniac, I guess, was a staple. But only for, like, ad nauseum. And then it got replaced quickly by Thassa's Oracle. Is Nature's Claim really dead? Or is just nothing better right now? So if I look up Tron lists, I'm not going to find a single Nature's Claim in their list? Is that what you're telling me? Thragtusk still sees play in Tron. So we're going to look. Okay, I'm looking. I'm going to go to look at the Tron lists. And we'll definitely find... we gotta go far to find Tron. What a world do we live in where Tron is like number 20 something. See, there's the Thragtusk, so that's not dead. Nature's Claim. Nature's Claim. Is there any Nature's Claims here? There is not. Not in that list. How about this one? Nature's Claim. If it's not in this list, it's probably not in any list, to be honest. Is Force of Vigor just better? Is that the deal? Did Nature's Claim die for Force of Vigor? Maybe it did. Maybe this one died. Yeah, Nature's Claim. I could see this being a dead card in Modern now. Nature's Claim is used in graveyard decks for Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace, but they also Force of Vigor is used in those decks as well. If you have green for Nature's Claim, you have green for Force of Vigor, which is just infinitely better. Because if your opponent puts two Leylines on the battlefield, you can get rid of both of them at the same time. And usually, you know, graveyard decks will have more than one answer. Remand is still in Storm for combo reasons. My head is spinning on that statement because Storm is like dead. I don't even think you can find Storm on this entire meta list. I don't think Storm even exists. Is Storm even here in any capacity? Maybe. It sort of looks like, you know, Storm was so feared, and then they printed so many hate cards, and now it's gone. It's gone. Where's Storm? One Storm deck! There's Twiddle Storm, but that's not Storm. Not the Storm we're talking about. Mono blue. It is gone! Moment of silence for the Storm decks out there. Moment of silence. Alright, with that. Oh, Sleight of Hand. That's a dead card. Okay, before we finish everything. Sleight of Hand. I knew there was going to be some... Because of the death of Storm and Ad Nauseam, Sleight of Hand is basically dead. Might come back. Probably won't come back. Probably is not gonna come back. It's gone. It's not gonna come back anymore. Jace Friends. Now we're finding some bangers in the end. That used to be a hardcore staple in Modern. That was 30 bucks at one point. That was 30 bucks at one point. Saw playing every control deck. Yeah, Baby Jace had a nickname. You know it was a staple when it has a nickname. It was Baby Jace. My first card that I talked about was Search for Azcanta. I totally forgot about Jace Vryn's Prodigy. It's $20 now. Well, actually, what was the price? Let's go look at the price of Jace. Baby Jace. Maybe it was $80 or something. It had a high price tag and then crashed. Okay, so here it was. Oh, it was 90. It was 90 bucks. Okay, forget that $30 price tag. I didn't remember what it was, how much it cost at all. Liliana, last hope. You guys don't want to let me quit the... Okay, the stream continues so long as you can keep on, like, every 5 minutes, give me an actual dead card. If you give me repeats or cards that are not dead cards, then the stream ends. But you can't... So far, you're still giving me some cards. We need the original artwork. Liliana, last hope. Eating up those little creatures. You would think that maybe this card could see some play right now because of Dragon Rage Chandler and Ragavan, and he eats those cards up. But I guess, you know what it is? It's just that Renin 6 does a better job than Liliana by a huge margin. It just does a way better job. Is it Charm? Completely gone. Great in combo decks, was good value. You could cycle it for a card. Deal 2 damage. Excellent, excellent card. Vindicate was never a staple. Keranos, I can't remember what this card was. Keranos. Was that a staple? That was a staple! That was a staple in every single control deck. Any combo deck or control deck that was blue-red actually played Keranos Godstorm. Wow, that's a throwback. Huge throwback. And it was indestructible too. So like if you stabilized the board, if you stabilized the board and you played a Keranos, I mean, you knew the game was slipping out of your hands really quickly. Reveal the first card you draw on each of your turns. Whenever you reveal a land card this way, draw it. Whenever you reveal a non-land card this way, Keranos deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Really, really strong card. Surgical is definitely not dead. Check out Gruul Storm. It's not dead. Anafenza. Basically, Anafenza... Well, actually, which one? Actually, both of these actually saw play. But they both went away when Counter's Company died. This probably should have saw more play in humans, but maybe not. Is Growth Spiral dead? Maybe it is. No reason, though. It's just not well positioned. No one wants to play this card. Now that I think of it, this card doesn't see play. That's crazy. It's really crazy. We went over Restoration Angel already. Restoration Angel, Siege Rhino, we've been through them all. Thundermaw actually saw some play. Maybe some. I don't know. This is a very loose... like a long time ago. It was a way to beat like a lot of Lingering Soul decks. A long time ago. This was very, very, very long time ago. I guess Wrath of God is basically dead. It's very funny to say that this is a... it used to be a staple. Sure. Before not before Terminus. But anyway, it was a card. Sword of Fire and Ice. Is it dead? Some people used to just play this like because it was just a good value card. Was Victim of Night was like a niche card. Well, you guys are saying repeats. I see it out there. Cryptic Command still sees play. You guys are real. Oh, that's a... There we go. Courser of Crucifix. Courser... Oh my god. The Espanol. Courser of Crucifix is actually played in a lot of different decks. Between mid-range. I think it even saw it play in Amulet. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think that this was definitely a huge card. Fire Spout was also a big one. Mostly in Tron. I think exclusively in Tron. was exclusively a big sideboard card in the Tron deck. I don't know what's everyone's obsession with mentioning Path to Exile when I already proved that Path to Exile sees play in the sideboard. We're running out of new cards. It's a problem for everyone new joining chat. They're mentioning cards that we've mentioned. We mentioned this one. Didn't mention Pongify, but it was never a staple. Mentioned Birds of Paradise, Voice. I don't want to really call Hornet Queen a staple or anything like that. Mesmeric Orb still... Actually, maybe it doesn't see... Maybe that's a dead card. I want to say it sees play in the mill decks, but I think they're off that card because they just have better options. I might be wrong, though. Mill players, let me know if Mesmeric Orb is really dead. But don't be a boomer. I imagine some boomer mill players that are like, no, it's still good. Someone out there probably thinks so. Gideon Ally of Zendikar, actually, again. Half of these cards are like control cards that got pushed out by better cards. Gideon definitely saw play, so definitely a staple of Modern. Archangel of Thune. Staple of Birthing Pod, but also was still seeing play. It actually saw play in, what's it called? Saw play in some Soul Sister decks, but was a staple in those Abzan Company decks. Maybe Dispel is gone. I haven't seen a Dispel in a very long while now. Lightning Helix outside of Burn. I mean, that's true, but it still sees play. I think Spike Feeder is gone. No, it's not. Helix Company still plays Spike Feeder. Oh, you almost got me. You almost got me. Grove of a land. Grove of the Burn Willows. This true story. This card used to be outrageously expensive. Grove of the Burn Willows. This used to be like, this was like a almost $100 card, 86 bucks. And now it's crashed to oblivion. Wow. Vidalcan Shackles. That's a throwback. That's a huge throwback. Yeah, so doesn't untap during your untap step. Pay 2 mana, gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of islands you control for as long as Vidalcan Shackles remains tapped. That actually did see play. I guess Kozilek's... I want to say Kozilek's return is just not well positioned right now. I just don't think it sees play because it's not well positioned, but it's not a dead card. Heart the Water Veil. What the hell is this? Heart the Water Veil. I don't remember what this is. That never saw play. Never. I guess we could say Pyroclasm. Part of me wants to say like this isn't really a dead card, it's just no one plays it. But I guess that's the same thing. I think it's still good though. Still a very, very good card. Pia and Kieran Nalaar. This is loose. This is a loose staple. I don't know if this was really that big of a staple in Modern. Ravenous Trap can still be played. It wasn't really that much of a staple in Modern either. It was like a budget graveyard card. Crypt Incursion. I think, no, like, mill decks definitely still play that card if they're playing black. Orzhov Pontiff. We're getting down to like the nitty gritty. That card is dead. That card. It was always. The funny thing is, it was always a one of anyway in the decks that it was played in. It was always a one of. Okay, we'll just say Grim Flare. I don't really want to say this was ever a staple of Modern, but whatever. It saw play. People played it. It was like a budget staple. Couldn't afford Tarmogoyf because it was $100. You had Grim Flare. Yeah, Tarfire, I guess, is gone. It's probably not coming back. Those 5-color Death Shadow decks. Dreadbore. That's a good one. I don't think Domri Raid ever saw good play in Modern. So I'm definitely not going to add that one. But Dreadbore definitely was an additional card. You know, help deal with Planeswalkers and stuff like that. Lightning Greaves was never even a staple. I think Collective Brutality... Maybe Collective Brutality is dead. I want to say this is one of those sideboard cards that just doesn't see a lot of play, but, you know, still sees play. Some people say Cruel Ultimate. Was it really that big of a card in Modern? Maybe this was before. It wasn't really before my time, though. No, Cruel Ultimatum never... Maybe it was played, but it was not a staple. I'm not calling it a staple. Burning Tree Emissary. Now this one is like, I want to say this is not a dead card. What am I doing here? It's just, there's no home for it right now. This is a card I want to say, there's just no home. So it's not seeing play, but I have a feeling it's going to come back. I have a feeling. Disenchant. No, does Disenchant still see play? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's finally dead. Because now that we have Prismatic Ending, we don't need this card anymore. Oh, think twice. Think twice. Saw a lot of play in a lot of control decks. I guess we can say Crumble to Dust. We just have better ways of dealing with land hate. Exile target non-basic land, search its controller, graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that land. Exile them, then that player shuffles his or her library. Well, you've missed a fire conversation today. Azorius Charm and Golgari Charm? Azorius Charm saw a lot of play. Again, another... Those control decks played everything, right? Think Twice is not dead. Wafotapa played it recently. He would. Okay, so maybe that one's barely gonna count. A Johnny Vengeance. Jeskai control staple. I used to lock down people's lands and Helix people. Was Jun Charm ever really a card? I don't think so. Maybe it was a niche cyborg card back then. And they like didn't have a whole lot to work with. Leon and Arbiter is actually still seeing play. Although I don't really think it should. I don't think it should. Jund Charm was a 4 of, really? Okay. Maybe I didn't pay attention to those Jund lists. Oh, Stubborn Denial is gone. That's a great one. Shadow Staple. No one plays this anymore. Why is this gone? Is there any reason? Counter target non-creature spell. It's like, it's basically a hard counter, almost a hard counter spell. Why do we not see this card anymore? You still need interaction. You still need interaction. I don't know why we don't see this card anymore. Maybe, I don't know why. Maybe there's just no room. There's just no room, I guess. Atarka's Command. That saw play in the Naya Burn deck, but also some basically Gruul aggro decks. Saw some playing, yeah, we went through, we saw it went with Clique, Sphinx, Spell Snare, we've done Siege Rhino, we saw Ancestral Visions. You don't give me a new card, the stream ends. Timely Reinforcements. Actually, that might be dead now. And just recently dead. It's not the value that it used to be. And there's a replacement for it now. I think there's a slightly better card for this. Kolaghan's Command still sees play, because I know, because they still blow up my Ether Vial. Those assholes. Shadow of Doubt was never a staple. That's just a jank card. Breeding Pool, what a troll response. We went through Stone Rain. Actually, okay, we'll add Stone Rain. I guess this is technically not. I don't really want to call this a staple, because very shortly after the red-green Ponza deck was discovered, they just got rid of the Ponza cards and it was mostly an aggro deck, and that's when it really saw some good play. Can we get an RIP for Prismatic Omen? Sure. Saw some play in the Scape Shift decks. Not a ton of play, but some play. I think Soulscar Mage still sees play in the Prowess deck, which still is around, still kicking a little bit. Command Tower. We did it. Supreme Verdict still exists. What are you talking about? Oh, Step Links. That's a dead card. That's hyper dead. Yup. Wow. Man, makes you feel. Modern isn't the same as it used to be. It's just a completely different world. That was a staple in Death Shadow Zoo, but also like regular Zoo decks. It was a staple in Zoo decks. Counter Squall, that saw a little bit of play. Basically, these are all like the cards that got pushed out for Counterspell. Plated GOP. We're not going that far. We're not going there. That was like budget Zoo tech. Did Lotus Cobra see much play in Modern? A little bit, but not really. I wouldn't call it a staple. I don't want to call Lotus Cobra a staple. Damn, now I want to play Nile Landfall. Yeah, and then you're gonna find out why we don't play Nile Landfall anymore. Nightmare Weaver? Maybe. I don't think Tameo or... we went through Nahiri. Tameo was never a staple, but Nightmare Weaver... Is that Ashiok? No, that was more of a standard staple than anything else. Did Duress see any play? I don't think so. It was always Thoughtseize and Inquisition. Alright, you people don't give me something new. The stream ends. Okay, Deputy of Detention. That's a dead card. That is a dead card. We went over this. We went over this. We went over both of them. I wouldn't say Sorin was a staple ever. Hero's Downfall, not really a staple. Vampire Nighthawk, never a staple. We went over it. Proclaim. Okay, technically. From the what's it called? Not just Soul Sisters, but the Martyr of Sands deck. But it's more. This says more about Martyr of Sands as a deck than Proclamation of Rebirth. Cluster Highborn definitely never saw play. Enduring Ideal, not a staple. Hydroid Krasis. I guess that saw play in Modern. Was this a Modern? I'm now confused. I can't remember if this was a Modern card or this was a big standard / historic card. Did we see this? I guess it saw play in Modern. I think it saw play in Modern. I am the Bass Master. What do we got? all of Infect. We went over Eldrazi Displacer. Drowner of Hope. It was a bit temporary, but yeah, before they found Eldrazi-tron and wiped out the other variations like the Bant Eldrazi and Eldrazi and Taxes. We had a lot of different variations of Eldrazi, and then Eldrazi-tron completely wiped these all off the board. There we go. Wait, now we're bringing up the Eldrazi's. Wasteland Strangler. I can't see it. Wasteland Strangler. I saw it for Splash Stranger. Strangler. Wasteland Strangler. That definitely was a card. Is Wilderness Reclamation? I don't think Wilderness Reclamation is dead. But it's pretty fringe. Is Chain Lightning even legal? No, it's not even legal. That's a legacy thing. Went over Raging Ravine. We went over Kitchen Finks. I don't even think Raging Ravine is dead. Is this dead? I don't think it is. In my opinion. Dread Ordogonist barely saw play. The Rock. Stranger Things even a card. Deathrite Shaman got banned. Kitesail Freebooter. Well, I mean, humans got banned. Or humans just died. Ancient Stirrings definitely sees play. Skyclave Apparition gonna be dead. Not for as long as Spirits keeps playing it. We went over Bob. We went over Scavenging Ooze. It's still around. We went over Nacatl. We went over Jace already. Okay, that's it. That's it. There's nothing else. It's like we went over every dead card. We went over Wrath / well, Wrath. We didn't go over Damnation, but we went over Wrath. Goblin. Oh, okay. We'll give you that. Okay, the stream goes on. Goblin, Pyromancer. Okay, I'm gonna start timing you guys now. We're gonna have a timer. Hold on, Goblin? No, hold on. Goblin, no, I think you meant not, I know what you mean. It's not Goblin Pyromancer. What is it called? It's called, Goblin something. Goblin. Thing is, what's it called? Storm has been dead for so long, we don't even know what the card is called. Goblin. Electromancer. That's what it was. Goblin Electromancer. Goblin Pile Driver. Wasn't really a staple. People are just now throwing out some really random cards. Goblin Guide still definitely exists. Alright, I'm gonna put a timer for 15 seconds. The stream never ends. Alright, 15 seconds. Give me something new. Went over it. Definitely not dead. As Foretold? Okay, I think I can give you As Foretold. Well, no, I don't want to say that. Whoops. It's going to be really annoying if we keep hearing it like that. Need a stopwatch. Okay, so I don't want to say this card is dead, but it definitely sees like no play right now. Absolutely nothing. Alright, we put the stopwatch back on. Get to 15 seconds, it's over. Esper Charm was never a staple. Batterskull still sees play. Collective Brutality, we went over it. Kiln Fiend. I'm not even gonna call that a... I guess we could call it something, sure. It's a staple of, like, budget decks. Definitely doesn't see play anymore. Alright, let's do this again. 15 seconds. We went over it, ran over it. Didn't really go over it, but I'm not gonna call that a staple. Skullcrack. If Skullcrack... If I look at a burn list and we see... Okay. Here, it's gonna come down to Skullcrack. If I find a burn list with Skullcrack in it, the stream ends. So we're gonna look at the latest burn lists. Is there a single Skullcrack in, like, 3 lists? There it is. Alright, we ran out of cards. We ran out of cards. Thank you so much for the super long stream. This is way longer than I wanted to, but it seemed like it was a pretty hype stream. Everyone liked to think of super old dead cards. Probably it helped boost the algorithm and blah, blah, blah. And as usual, we do this Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you very much for joining me. And as usual, thank you very much for the super chats, for supporting the channel. And otherwise, if you want to support the channel with money, you can hit the join button on YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. It was a fantastic discussion. We had a lot of fun. It was very nostalgic. So keep brewing up those coffees, and we will keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next week.